From the city of Peaky Blinders, Birmingham, England, I would like to introduce you to Paddy Dhanda.
As the world becomes more automated and the robots take over, being an effective product thinker still requires that human touch. Join me in a mission to champion human skills to help product teams boost creativity, enhance collaboration, and communicate with clarity. So pull up a chair, grab a samosa or two, and make yourself very uncomfortable. Dear friend, thank you so much for joining me today for another episode. I'm your host, Paddy Dhanda. And on today's show, I have Dr. Roberta Garceau. She's a dentist, yoga and Ayurveda instructor, I can't say that word very well, and diplomat of the American Board of Dental Sleep Medicine, who brings these disciplines together through her elemental wellness approach. She's the best-selling author of Bliss Not Burnout and is committed to helping people build self-awareness and healthier lives. She lives in Connecticut with her husband, Jerry, their grown children, Jacinda and Liam, and their dogs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for that lovely welcome. I'm delighted to be here, Paddy.
Oh, you're welcome. I thought you were from Canada and I got it totally wrong, but no, you're from the States.
My father was from Canada, so we're all good.
Okay, excellent. And I actually feel a little bit under pressure because my teeth are terrible and you're a dentist, so I've got to I'm really conscious about this episode.
Oh, I think you have a handsome smile. Come on now, we'll talk.
We'll talk, yeah. I got to say, though, as an Indian kid, when I was growing up, our parents, I think the whole Indian nation had this instruction from their parents, which was never show your teeth when you're having a photo taken, because it was like a cultural thing. So on all of my photos as a kid, my mouth is just zipped, like you cannot see my teeth. And now when someone asks me to smile, I feel really awkward in a photo because it looks so rubbish and fake. So I've been scarred for life.
It sounds like an old story that's replaying for you, Paddy.
It is. Yeah.
The samskara. It's a little scar in there. Little story.
So Roberta, tell us what superpower you're bringing to this particular episode.
Oh, so when you asked me to bring a superpower, I'm like, just one? I want to bring them all. So I was like, today I'm bringing bliss. So my best-selling book is Bliss Not Burnout. The subtitle is Hope for Healthcare Providers. And the caveat is we are all healthcare providers at one or many points in our lives, because we may find ourselves caring for a parent, partner, or child, friend, or someone in the community. And those of us who are in leadership positions, we may find ourselves caring for teams or employees, so we can talk about that a little bit more if that comes to play later in our time together, how that applied to me personally when I had some adversity. And so with the title Bliss Not Burnout, to me, it's a spectrum, right? It's not like my goal in life and my endeavor is to be in like all the time. I mean, that's not real. That's not a place on earth. It's a place that Indians thousands of years ago tried to transcend to, right? But it doesn't exist on earth. When we consider it as a spectrum, though, if burnout is on this end and bliss is on the other, I don't know why I'd like to, kind of skew myself more towards the bliss side than the burnout. And that's really the superpowers that I talk about in my book. The superpowers of, I picked a few, cherry-picked a few. Finding the gift in adversity is one thing that I'd love to talk about. And self-care through self-awareness is a superpower, individually and as a leader. And when we combine these together, it really gives us enhanced resilience. We grow. We're more creative. There's more space and energy to grow and create. And so in that sense, everything's possible. And that sounds kind of like bliss. So there we go.
Just so I understand what bliss is, because in my mind, it means like a really good state of feeling. Maybe it's a state of mind. Is that what we're talking about here?
That's what we're talking.
It's not like when you're on drugs and stuff and you're just feeling a little bit zoned out. No, this is like when you're at a level or a mindset where everything just feels good. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that's the most accurate thing that I'm talking about. It's kind of like I'd like to hope that most of us have experienced at least some point in time that feeling of flow, right?
Mm.
Where things just kind of fall into place. Perhaps we lose sense of time, and there's a sense of well-being and joy. That's what I'm talking about. Every minute of every day is not going to be happy, and there's going to be uncomfortable things and hurtful things and sad things and sickness and tragedies. And throughout all of that, we can all live with greater wellness and support each other much more when we're taking care of ourselves, when we are reframing and adopting a perspective of possibility and growth and resilience and joy and, you know, all of these things that help us to be more well on the day to day. Because the truth is, this took me a bit of time. This took me getting sick to realize. Um, but putting everyone before ourselves is not sustainable, and it's not good for us or the people around us. So it's not selfish to practice self-care, which is kind of a trendy term right now. And it's very, very true. By one of your superpowers, by being self-aware and taking care of your own needs, you're so much more available to the people around you. You're a more impactful leader. You have more vision as a creative. um, you know, IT skills and technicality, you're going to have more of those aha moments. Soft skills, you're going to be more in tune and intuitive with the people around you. So that's the other skill, superpower that I bring, finding the gift in adversity and that self-care through self-awareness.
So I'd love to explore the adversity angle to start with.
Mm.
So adversity, I was talking to, I think, my wife actually about this. I was saying, like, my son, he wants to be an entrepreneur. He's 13. And
I
at
love
the
it.
moment, every time I bring up the topic, I'm like, hey, you should be watching this program, or this would be really good for you if you want to be an entrepreneur. And he's not bothered in the slightest, right? There's no passion or interest there. And I said to my wife, I was like, if you look at the really successful entrepreneurs, they're typically people who have had adversity in their lives, and they've always got this then purpose or reason to prove people wrong. And so it just feels like they will be head and shoulders above any of the competition because that individual has seen some hard things in life. I was like, what's my son seen? He's his sort of biggest complaint is like, oh, Dad, you've not given me enough time to watch YouTube or something. Like, that's his adversity,
He's a
right?
bit soft, is he?
So I mean, isn't adversity healthy for us? Because
It
surely
is.
success is based on adversity for many people.
It is. I feel that it is. And I mean, nobody asks to have a hard time. And when they inevitably happen, I believe personally that things don't happen for no reason. I know that was a lot of negatives, but conversely, things happen for reasons, and they're not always obvious to us in the moment. Um, and I choose to believe that there is a higher purpose for adversity, because the converse, like, it's just sucks. And I don't like that answer. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't work for me. So I choose to believe that we can all, no matter what happens, we can choose. Could take a little time, but we can choose to find the gift in the adversity. So in my book, Bliss Not Burnout, I share a story of how when I was in my 30s, I had some life-threatening internal bleeding that was misdiagnosed. And, it's not I didn't go through war and famine, right? But it really shook me and rocked me. I needed surgery right away. It interrupted my family. It interrupted my work, my business. And so through that, I was like, all right, you know, in another point in time in history, or if I neglected my own self-awareness and said, no, I don't agree with what this person said, I'm going to get another opinion. I'm going to take care of myself because I know something is wrong. In another point in time, I could have bled out, right? So many of us, if we didn't have simple antibiotics when we needed them, or, corrective procedures at other points in time, we might not be here. And so I said to myself, all right, what is the gift in this challenge? Because there's a lot that wasn't good. And I just kind of went through my life and thought about the different sectors. If I had died, how would I feel about who I was as a mom? Well, I felt pretty, um, how would I feel about my role as a sister or a daughter and friend? Okay. And boss, dentist to my patients, provider for my patients. Really good. Wife, maybe I could spend more attention there in that relationship. And then myself was like, I know why I'm sick. I knew right away why I got sick is because I wasn't managing my stress, my emotions, communication had broken down with a work partner, not an employee, but a partner. And so I chose to find what was the gift. Like, okay, this is an opportunity to regroup. It's an opportunity to reflect and see what I might do differently going forward. And that's it. Reframe, perspective, the end. And the other piece of that is what we were talking about, how we are as a leader and as a boss. I used to think when I was starting out as an entrepreneur in dental healthcare, in the business of dentistry, I used to think that a leader and a boss needed to be perfect, show no signs of weakness. I couldn't make mistakes. I couldn't cry. And over time and through coaching and life experience and reading and learning and life experience, I learned that, when we show vulnerability, it shows not only that we're human, it shows that we're approachable. Reaching out for help is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. Relying on others. And so there's also the gift in that, right? In realizing that, hey, while I'm not feeling my best, I need to ask my work team for help in different ways that I might not have. And that's okay. It's okay to say, hey, I'm having a rough time, or, not to bring all your personal issues into the workplace, but to say, I'm dealing with some things. And so I'm finding that my ability to focus isn't as good as it typically is, or as I'd like it to be. Can I just let you know that so we can lean on each other and work together? And it's amazing how powerful it is, because the people around you, they want to help you. So sometimes one of the other superpowers I'm offering is sometimes the superpower is to be a bit vulnerable. And yeah, so I'm taking you lots of places. I don't know what you want to talk about in those things. We went from adversity to vulnerability and perspective reframing to working with others and asking for help.
I mean, there's a lot of richness there, a lot of goodness, and look, this episode's deep. I mean, it's these are things that they impact all of us, but we don't always talk about them openly. I think we see people at work, and it's often very superficial. We say, "Hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're good," but behind the scenes, who knows what's happening there? Are there any tools, techniques that you would recommend for someone who is having a hard time at the moment? I'm thinking about, I don't know, we're hearing a lot about already people losing their jobs because of AI. There's all these big announcements I'm seeing, and I think the world of work is, and if you're not losing your job at the moment, thank God. we are all kind of on the back foot, a little bit worried, not sure about the future. So like, how can someone deal with that? Because to see the gift in adversity, in retrospect, is brilliant. Like, we all look back and we go, do you know what? I'm so glad I didn't get that job, because if I didn't get that job, it meant that I could then open up these other opportunities. But at the time, it doesn't feel like that at all, right? When you're going through that
No,
process.
no. And being willing to ride that wave, right? And feel the feels. It's not necessarily instantaneous, right? Like, first and foremost, it's not about being, sunshine all the time and pretending that it's always good and happy, because it's not. It's most important to acknowledge how you're feeling in that moment first. That's real. That needs to be felt, because if we just stuff feelings, you're going to end up with disease and sickness 100% every day of the week. So yes, we need to acknowledge those feelings. They're real and they're valid. And it's okay to feel sad for a while, or a little depressed or disappointed, or need to talk to a counselor or a friend, or, someone who's trusted in that capacity. So I would say, if someone's looking at the loss of a job, or the way they identify in their career role, or in their chosen profession, if that identity is being shaken because AI, or fill in the blank, it can be any number of things, right? It does go back to what I started out with, really trying to see the gift in that adversity. That's a challenge. It could be an identity challenge. It could be a relationship challenge. It could be a financial challenge. But it is an opportunity for you to step back and reflect and regroup and be like, okay, I thought that I was, fill in the blank, what your job title was, what you were being paid for. What did you call yourself on the census, right? What paid your bills? And now I may not be that, or the way that I thought that looked and sounded may be shifting. And what's the opportunity? Where do I want to go from here? It's a little different in my career as a dentist. After you've done over 10,000 fillings in your life, they're a little less sexy. Like, I do them. I just did some this morning for someone because that was going to help him be healthier. I'm more excited about helping people to live with greater wellness. And if doing fillings for them is a piece of that puzzle, then great. And if I'm looking at their whole wellness, at their mental, physical, emotional well-being, I'm more interested in that. So in dentistry, I was getting, if I just continued to do the same thing for 30 years and never learn new techniques, new technology, new procedures, new parts of healthcare, I would be a little crankier right now. I'd be a little bit more burnt out. And so what I've done is I've gotten a great deal more training in alignment. And so I'll work with Invisalign, clear retainer system. I help patients a lot with alignment, not just for their cosmetics, but for their health and function and long-term well-being. I'm a diplomate with the American Board of Dental Sleep Medicine because I had a deep interest when I crossed breathing and yoga and Ayurveda and pranayama with what happens when we're sleeping and what are our airways doing? Are we breathing, or are we snoring or stopping breathing, interrupted sleep and all of that? So I became a diplomate in the American Board of Dental Sleep Medicine because I wanted to help people with that. And so it kind of shifted. If you ask me as a dental student, where do you see yourself in this many years? I wouldn't have even known this was a thing. We didn't even learn about it in school, right? So it's a shift. But how exciting. I think you can see it and hear it in my voice. Like, I'm excited, like helping people to have life-changing improvements. And whether it's their personal life, like I haven't slept with my husband in 20 years because he can't take the snoring, and now I can sleep with him, and that brings us joy. That's wonderful. I mean, some people don't mind sleeping apart, but for this couple, that was life-changing. Or I wake up in the morning and I have more energy. Women in their 30s, they don't look like the typical picture of someone who can't breathe, but helping them. Now I can stay awake all day and function as a college professor and play with my toddler, as opposed to needing to take naps in my 30s because I was exhausted. So shifting what we think of as our identity is the gift in that adversity when things change. On a slightly unrelated but related level, my son just moved into a new apartment, and he's lived in an apartment before, but this one he checked out and he wasn't sure, and he showed me the virtual tour. I got to see it, on the phone, and I said, "Do you want me to come look at it before you sign the lease?" And he's like, "No, no, Mom, I'm good." I said, "Okay." So meanwhile, I'm the guarantor on the lease. I do have a vested interest, but I was like, all right, he's 22 years old. He's a bright young man, and I trust him, right? We're not going to hover. You're not hovering over your 13-year-old. You're giving him suggestions and offerings and advice and guidance. And at the end of the day, he's figuring it out, right? Because if you make it too soft and cushy, he will never have adversity. So we go to move my son in. Not even 2 weeks ago, into his new apartment. And he said, "Mommy, it's kind of dirty." I said, "That's okay. I'll help you clean it." And he went ahead of time, started cleaning. And the day we were to move in, we go in and I start, I'm a mom. I'm starting off in the bathroom. So I'm cleaning and I flush the toilet and it continues to run. I was like, all right, that's not a big problem. But, do you know how you lift the tank lid and make sure the little thing goes down so that, okay, we're good. And then I'm cleaning under the bathroom sink and I see, it's kind of messy, mucky under here. So we dried it off, cleaned it, and I think you got a slow leak. So he tries to tighten the pipe. We put a bowl. Okay, we're dealing with that. We go to close the doors in the freshly painted apartment, and not one of the doors closes because it's been painted and overpainted, so you literally can't close or lock it. And then I go to try to close the door, and it had one of these more traditional glass handles at doorknobs, and I turned the doorknob and the glass broke off in my hand. And we stood in the kitchen and he's just shaking his head, has his head down. And I said, I see you're feeling a lot of feelings right now. I see you're not happy. And I could have run to the rescue, right? Mommy will make it better. I could have said, "You shoulda, coulda, woulda, you shoulda had me look at this. You should have checked this. You shoulda." No. What do you want to do? Gave him some time and space. I said, we have this lease. You have a financial obligation. He said, "I know. That's what I'm thinking." I said, "How about we're all ready to move in here. How about we clean the place up? There's some things that we can get fixed over time. And I bet once you start having your things in here, it's going to feel a lot better." I said, "Maybe in a few months, if you're absolutely miserable, then we could see if it's possible to break your lease. But let's just, see. I think it's going to feel better." And, the good news is he still doesn't have a sofa, but the good news is he's in and it's working out. It's much better. It's feeling like home. And the point with that is it's a very simple example. It seems like perhaps I've taken us away from technology and business and everything else, but I haven't. It goes back to that. Fixing things for him, for our children, our young adults, our older adults, our employees, our loved ones. Being there to support and nurture, maybe offer guidance, maybe a suggestion, but letting the person figure out through their adversity and grow. And I didn't have to tell him a thing, but do you think the next time he looks at an apartment, he's going to open all the doors and close them and open the cabinets and flush that toilet and run the sink? Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I told my husband after, this is not a mistake. This is a growth experience. It's a learning experience. He's 22 years old. He's still learning. I'm a lot older than that. I'm still learning. And until I take my last breath, my goal is to keep learning and to keep sharing to help others.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. I'm trying to think what I would have done with my son. I would have definitely gone, you should have done this, you could have done that. And
Yeah, brain them.
So I think as a parent, that takes a lot of, well, wisdom, right? Like not to just jump in and start to tell people what they've done wrong. And I guess it goes back to leadership. Leadership is the same thing.
Mhm.
We often get ourselves in situations where a team may have done something wrong, or they may have done something that was completely absurd, and you're standing there as a leader going, what on earth were they thinking? Right? Like, are they serious? But equally, you don't want to let your emotions take over, and you've got to take a step back. And like you say, if you rescue people every time, then we won't learn for the next occasion. And I think that's a really great way to approach it, is to let people figure it out. Let them figure out what happened and how they could have done things differently. You mentioned a few things there, though, before that around healthcare. Like, that's a big part of your career and your life. And I think as professionals, and I'm putting up my hand, like, I don't spend enough effort on myself in terms of my own health and well-being. I keep saying I'm going to go jogging every day, and I don't. I maybe do it like once every 2 weeks, if that. Like, it's very hit and miss. How important is health for us, and how can we take some small steps to focus on our health? Because running every day is a big step for many of us. So
Mhm.
what can I do in between?
All right, Patty, do you like running?
I actually love running. I
Oh, you do? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we didn't have a mismatch there. Because if you
Yeah.
hated running, like, don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Do something else.
No, I do. I really genuinely love running, but not the first few times, because I know I'm going to be knackered. Uh, Once I've like done it at least 3 times in a row, then I'm good, because my body's not going to feel like I'm 100 years old.
Mm. So sometimes there's a little pain before you get closer to bliss. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
All right. So to your question, I'm a firm believer it's all small steps. There is no one size fits all. There's no one perfect regimen for exercise. There's no one perfect regimen for diet. Uh, It it really goes back. I'm huge, and that comes from the tradition of Ayurveda, and that is a big piece of my approach to holistic healthcare and integrative healthcare that I've trademarked as elemental wellness. So, elemental wellness derives from Western allopathic medicine that I've learned in school, right? Well, how we're trained. It also has to do with yoga, movement, mindfulness, meditation, breath work, in these ancient wisdoms. And by the way, Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga. So that's traditional medicine that originated in India thousands of years ago. And no small wonder, like all this time later, we're getting more and more evidence that they knew a whole lot back then. Was it perfect? No, but a whole lot of it makes a whole lot of sense. And we're getting more scientific evidence to support what was done then. And someone asked me this week, are you into homeopathy? And I'm like, um, not really. And then he started talking about what that meant to him. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yes, I am. If we're talking about how many people, it's more in style now to use like a neti pot, right? To cleanse your sinuses or to prevent infections or to keep your nasal passages clean. That's thousands of years old, right? That tradition. Or oiling your skin instead of putting chemicals and stuff on. That's ancient. You can look to India, you can look to Brazil. They oil their babies even still today. Like just the whole way that we look at wellness. And so coming back to that, my point is it's just little steps, little tiny steps is the way to start. If I said, Patty, you must run 4 days a week without fail, 5 kilometers every time at 6 a.m., or you're a loser, you failed. Oh no. Then that wouldn't be very helpful, right? So little steps, things that speak to you. Trying to find health, to your question, is paramount. It's critical, your physical and mental health, and they're not disparate things. They're intimately related. You cannot be physically fit, well, and healthy if your mind's not okay too. You might look like a bodybuilder, you might look gorgeous, like a model, but something's going to give. Like if you've got a lot going on upstairs, it's going to come out as physical illness, or you might start having digestive problems, or you might start having aches in certain places. Right? Conversely, you can't be well in your mind if your body is falling apart, because the physical inflammation circulates through your bloodstream, through every cell, into every cell of your body, and you can't escape it. So we need to look at wellness as a whole. That does include eating nutritiously. Does it mean that you can't ever have candy or junk food or alcohol or caffeine if those things are safe for you to have? You can. There's something called moderation, and knowing yourself. If you know that caffeine makes you extremely jittery and you can't sleep if you've had 1 cup of coffee, then no, that's not safe for you. If you know that you can't stop at 1 glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine, then no wine is safe for you. But if your constitution says that you can do these things, then that's okay. And the same with exercise. Little steps, making it a priority. We've got to move. It's not just what we put on our body as far as soaps and lotions and oils and things, and in our body as far as foods and things. It's also what we're taking in through the other senses, right? What are we listening to? Are we listening to healthy podcasts that are helpful and uplifting? Are we listening to inflammatory news all the time over and over, which increases anxiety and anger and hostility? Maybe not the best choice, right? Are we watching violent movies all the time? Or are we watching some documentaries, or God forbid, getting out in nature and looking at trees and plants and things like in water and sky, things like that? So those kinds of activities, anything that's movement is positive. It's a plus. And so for someone like yourself, if you know that you like jogging and you do it sometimes, you'd like to do it more, that sounds like more of a matter of making it, already sounds like it's a priority, but scheduling your priority. So was it Tom Collins who said, Tim Collins? I'm misquoting, but it's not just about, it was Stephen Covey. There we go. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but it's not prioritizing our schedule. That's taking a to-do list and being like, oh crap, I've got to do this, this, and this, and that to do, and I need to do 8 million things. That's prioritizing a schedule, and it's generally not that rewarding, fulfilling, effective, or productive. When we schedule our priorities, that's different. Our calendar looks different. When you tell yourself, and you're true to yourself, to your word to yourself, that yes, exercising is important to me. My physical health and my mental health are important to me. They are a priority. And so I'm going to put on my calendar, whenever it fits in your calendar, if it's 6 a.m, if it's 6 p.m, when you're going to actually put it in your calendar that for 30 minutes, or maybe it's 10 minutes, whatever it is, I'm going to go for a jog. Maybe you're just like, I cannot add one more thing to my life. Okay. Hopefully you'll take a little time at lunchtime. I'm going to admit, I struggle with this every day. I'm not perfect. I talk about it because I live it. Sometimes my lunch breaks are 10 minutes. That's not healthy. But as much as I can, I try to go for a walk just around town outside, even if it's 5, 10 minutes around the block, get fresh air, look at some trees, look at the sky, take a breath in. Maybe I hear some birds, just move my body, change of perspective. It's important. So if you can't get in half an hour of exercise, schedule 10 minutes and maybe 10 minutes some other time and 10 minutes. And it's about making it a part of your day. Because if it's just a wish or a dream or a kind of, or I'd like to, or someday, or it would be nice to, it doesn't happen. Right. So if you think, oh my gosh, I make appointments for everything else. If I make an appointment with myself for that time, that's pretty great.
Right. I'm getting my calendar out and I'm going to schedule it in right now.
Good man. Schedule it in.
I think I tell you what, the thing that puts me, I'm looking outside the window now and it is raining heavily and it's miserable out there. And whenever I'm in a hot country, I'm like, oh, I could do jogging here all the time. Like it would be so easy. You just want to jog, but in England, in this type of weather, it's just depressing out there. Even the dog does want to go out. So
I know.
I'm not saying something because he always wants to go out, but like
Aw.
today he put his head through the flap. He just put it back in.
No, Dad, I'm not going.
Well,
Oh.
well,
Well, you can move indoors. You can dance in place. You don't need to have special clothing or equipment or an expensive membership. Do
Yep.
some push-ups, do some squats,
hang on. Roberta, we moved from jogging to now like bodybuilding. Like that's definitely not going to happen.
No, a plank. You could do a plank. Come on. I've got a reconstructed shoulder and I can do planks. You can do this. What I was doing is I was giving you a little reframe in perspective that you can still exercise even if it's crappy. And maybe one day you'll be like, you know what? What would it be like to just go jogging in this weather that looks miserable? You might find out you love it. Like maybe you don't get as sweaty, or maybe it's just like, holy crap, this is crazy. I'm doing something that I did not think I would do.
Mm-hmm.
You like it or you hate it, but you tried it.
Well, the good thing is no one else will be outside, so at least it'll be nice and
It won't
clear.
be crowded.
So there you go. I might just keep going up and down the stairs for a while, and then
That works.
that'll be a good start. Yeah,
Yeah, that works.
awesome. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you about very quickly was about stress, because
I don't have it.
stress,
Do you? You have stress?
like not right now, but
I'm being facetious.
I know. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it's something that I don't know. It's one of those things that when you get it, it's horrible, isn't it? It just eats you inside, and it's really hard to shake off. And it's often when something's lingering in your mind, like I don't know, you've got like a deadline to meet, or you're so under pressure to do this thing right, and you don't want to let anyone down, or there could be other bigger problems. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with your stress?
Breathe. Exhale first. Seriously, like exhale. Because, for instance, the other day I was driving from one place to the next and I was feeling hurried and harried and like, oh my gosh, like just no matter how I try to be organized and stay on my schedule, I just feel like I can't keep up. And I'm driving, I'm gripping the wheel, and I was like, how am I breathing? Like my whole torso is tight, shallow. And like, all right, let's just like exhale and go back to that breath. It gets you back into your body. Because when that stress becomes so overwhelming and it's almost an out of body, out of head moment, right? It's like, this is crazy. It's too much. I can't control it. I don't feel on top of it. It's helpful and grounding to get back in your body. So your breath is your number one tool. It's the most amazing function of our body because it happens automatically without us thinking about it, right? All the time when we're going about our day and while we're sleeping. And we can control it. That's a crazy operation because there are not that many bodily things that we control the same way. So we can breathe really rapidly and shallow, or sucking in energy. And that is one use of breath, right? If you're feeling like you can't get off the couch or it's just rainy today, you could like pull in energy and prana or chi, right? We're going to talk about Chinese medicine. Or when you're feeling stressed, you can use that same function of breath to exhale completely through the nose. Maybe squeeze that stale air out of the belly. And then let the next breath flow in organic. And just slow down the breathing through the nose. I mean, it sounds simple, but that's the first step, because until we do that, it lowers your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, like it really physically, scientifically does. Until we do those things, the stress, like you said, it just can spiral, right? And develop a life of its own. So the first step is getting back in the body, back to the breath. That's its own meditation. It's its own mindfulness. So you might think, I don't do that woohoo stuff. I don't meditate, that yoga, whatever. And that's a simple practice. It's like, hey, you don't have to sit like a pretzel and chant Om for an hour. Like, you don't have to do that. That's not the only way you can be mindful and meditate and breathe. So little tiny steps is so much more. Read Bliss Not Burnout or get the audiobook. I have so many examples, seriously, of things that you can do to help yourself that are free and available, that you already own, you already contain. And it's just a matter of tapping into.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you for that. My final question before we wrap up, because I know you're going to get back to work in a moment where you have to pull someone's teeth out or fill someone's teeth. I'm not sure quite what, but
help them be healthier.
Fair. So, Roberta, if you could have any superpower to abolish something in the world of work, so take it away, what would that be? So what's the thing that really gets you like a little bit mad about the world of work?
About the world of work?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I was not prepared for this question, Pat. Gosh, I don't know. What do I want to abolish? I think there's nothing really I want to abolish, because everything is an opportunity to learn, reflect, and grow and reframe. And that's really how I live my life. I've had more than one life learning experience. And so I think every experience in our lives does shape us. And the ones that are harder or that we might not like or they're unpleasant, don't want to deal with. Yeah, there's definitely things I don't like to deal with. And it's part of it, right? It's part of what makes us who we are. So it's all good.
Wow. Out of probably over 170 guests I've had on this podcast, you're the only person who has said they would not change anything.
It's all good.
This is normally an opportunity for my guests to have a real rant. You know, people like go, oh my God, yes, where do I start? I would abolish meetings, or I would abolish, corporate clothing or whatever that thing is. And it's always really interesting to hear people's perspectives. So, wow, I'm actually quite blown away by that. You're such a positive person that actually there's opportunity in everything. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me share. It's my joy. It's my passion. And that's really what it's about too. Your superpower is the thing that you're most passionate about, right? Follow that, pursue that. If you feel you're completely miserable 90% of your day, then that's a growth opportunity. What would bring you more joy? What would bring you more purpose? What would be more lighten you up more? enliven you. So about do that.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we're going to put a link to the book and your website and all those good things in the show notes. So
Excellent.
we'll get that on there. And you mentioned lots of free resources and things on there.
Yes, there's lots of
So
free links. It's all good.
there we go. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I feel a lot wiser than I did 45 minutes ago. So really do appreciate your insights today. And it's such a pleasure talking to you.
You also, Patty. Thank you so much.
It's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do connect with me via LinkedIn and drop me a message and let me know your favorite takeaways from the episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Superpower School newsletter so that you can be notified of all future episodes. Simply visit the website www.superpowers.school. Thank you once again.